What's up? Dr. Shawn Robinson, and I'm with Chiro Skate.
Relax.
So I was really lucky to actually find this office during the midst of COVID. As y'all last remember, I was up in Marietta working with another doctor, has some space out there. Since we have grown to be able to actually have a full working clinic here in downtown Atlanta, located in the historic Studioplex. This office is magical. There's a lot of good sunlight that comes through here, and that was a big part of me picking out an office, was something that felt good, not just was convenient, but I wanted it to be an office that people walked in and like, oh, okay, this is the spot. And so I think we did a really good job with doing some good location scouting and actually finding a good spot to really start out in. But I'm not done. This to me is just the starting point. I still have the goal of building out, having a gym attached on, and adding the skate park on. So that's the big goal for Chiro Skate. And then really looking into the bigger picture beyond that, I would love for that to catalyst into eventually owning an abandoned hospital essentially, and renovating that into like a health clinic where we got a nice welcome center on the bottom floor. Right above that, geriatric care. Above that, pediatric care. Above that, the sports, the skaters. Above that, wellness level. And that way it's a full mega clinic of interdisciplinary physicians, PT, mental therapy, massage therapists, personal trainers, people that are dedicated to each section of that layer in each of those rooms. And that's where I'm seeing now Chiro Skate really being catalyst to where we do serve the skate community very proudly, but this also branches out to encompass more of the entire community. So don't know if that's in the near future, but I do like putting out these kind of big future ideas. What I was able to see, I guess, from the last interview we had was you keep working and you keep believing in yourself that things do start to come true. So even that kind of stuff that we were putting out last time, finding this office space, I want to put this back out into the atmosphere, into the universe as well, and let you guys know kind of what's in store for the future. For me, what I want to do for each skater, for each person coming in, is I want to give them a good quality of life. I don't want them to have to just, oh, I skated for 10 years and now my body's trash and this is just what I'm dealing with. I want people to understand that the body is a self-healing organism, and that if the right things are done and the right circumstances are given, that body can naturally heal and give us that good quality of life that I believe all of us are really looking for. For the future, you know, I think we might still be able to pull off Turkey Jam coming up in November. We usually partner up with the city of Hateville and do a canned food drive for there. So I'm hoping that we're able to still pull that off. Other events wise, I've kind of taken a step back with the family growing now. I've kind of turned attention onto making sure that I'm doing the things that I need to do as an expecting father and husband. So I am reeling back on events wise right now, but we do plan in the future, once I get work-life skate balance figured out, how to be a proper dad and ensuring that I am giving enough attention there, getting more into that kind of event space and having some more fun things for you guys. So.
Relax.
It feels amazing. I mean, I always thought about having a child of my own, and to have it actually kind of come into fruition now is kind of surreal. I'm really excited. I'm actually like the very last Robinson in my bloodline. Like, my dad's passed away, my uncle was adopted, my aunt could not bear children. I'm the very last Robinson, so it's kind of exciting to pass that lineage on and know that it doesn't just stop with me. So no pressure to the little one either, but I'm hyped to be able to kind of keep the family legacy going and just bring in a good, happy, healthy child into the world, someone that can be a positive change. I know there is a lot of negative out in the world, and I think it's nice to have that opportunity to raise up a good human being to spread positivity into the world. Personally started skateboarding, so I was actually outside of, I believe it was actually a funeral home with my dad. My dad was, he was a chain smoker. He smoked thousands of cigarettes. They just loved cigarettes. And I remember it was during the funeral and he had stepped out, and of course I'm gonna go outside with my dad, and these three dudes were skating down the sidewalk, and they drop off the little curb cut, pop back up on the curb cut, all kind of like synchronicity. Is like just amazing to see these do. And I look up at my dad and I'm like, you saw that? That was kind of crazy. Like, how'd they get to keep their feet on the board and everything just kind of move with it? And he's like, yeah, that was kind of cool. And I didn't really think much about it. It just kind of sparked my curiosity. And then I actually had a guy on my baseball team who skated, and he known how to like do little ollies and little kick flips. And so I would watch him out in the parking lot kind of doing what he does, and I was trying to convince my dad to actually buy a board for me. And I was at that time period where I was into rollerblading, I was into bikes, I was into little BB guns. I was like, you know, a kid all over the place with stuff. So he didn't want to bite the bullet and get a board just yet, so I wound up convincing one of my buddies to give me his old penny board. Like, board this big, trucks this big, wheels this big. And I started cruising on it. I started learning how to stand up and ride it and bomb hills, and then eventually upgraded to like a bigger old school board. And it was actually hilarious. It was like one of the old school like Bart Simpson boards. It had Bart on it, just big, massive board. And I remember I could click the tail a little bit more with it, but it was so big, it was so heavy that I couldn't like get it off the ground. So I had gotten really good at just like doing little drop-offs of curbs. And eventually my dad took notice. He said, man, you're really sticking with this thing. You really seem to be having fun with it. Let's go buy you a skateboard. Well, so we go to Big Lots, which is this little random store with all kinds of random stuff in it, and they actually had skateboards. And so I got my first like, I guess, double kicktail board. What was so funny about it was no black grip tape. It was like this clear grip tape, and it looked like somebody had like super glued like rocks to the top of it, and that was the grip tape. I think I'd started to learn how to do like little shove-its and like ollie a little bit better on that. And then I think it just warped down, and I showed my dad like, all right, look, I'm sticking with it. Can you get me like a better board? And so my first actual board, like 4 boards later, was a mini logo, a blank black mini logo. And that was what I learned to kickflip on. And like once I learned to kickflip, I was like, okay, this is it. And then I think the next board was like a zero single skull. And after that, I was just like, all right, that's what I needed the whole time, was this proper board. And then that's when I really started to, I guess, like learn more tricks with it. I remember I would go onto this little website and actually like print off trick tips. And I would go outside to my dad's driveway and I'd be like, all right, varial kickflip. And read off step by step on how to do a varial kickflip. And I'll just be out there with a rock and papers trying to do the trick, mess up, come back over, look at the paper, like, what did I do wrong? And that was kind of how I started to learn tricks. What was really cool is my dad lived in a really small town in Sylacauga, Alabama, but there was this older guy there named Bradley who was, you know, at the time like the best skateboarder I'd ever seen in my entire life. And he was older, but he was really helpful like teaching younger kids on how to skate. And so we would always go skate with him, and he kind of like took me and my other buddies like under his wing and showed us like actual street spots and like different little technical tricks, and learning how to just really kind of view stuff differently. Like if we would pull up on like a ledge that we thought like, oh, I want to ollie manual, like he was tail sliding, no sliding, like he was like skating as a ledge and putting in the work and waxing, and we're like, okay, learning from that how we could adapt to whatever street spot and make it what we wanted. If it was a manual pad, we could make it a ledge. And so I think that was really cool, having that like older influence as a kid and having somebody kind of show me the world of skateboarding is unlimited. And yeah, really just kind of taking it from there. What's really interesting, I remember skating with his, I guess it's his nephew. He was like 4 or 5 years old when we had started skating. And I recently went on a sesh with him in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and the dude was killing it. Like back over crook in the 7-rail, back lip the 7-rail, backsmith the 7-rail. It was like, wow, this was that 5-year-old that was learning fakie big spins 20 years ago. So it was really cool to see this guy not only show me how to skate, but also like his nephew and where his nephew took it to. So I think that's really cool to see that like full circle kind of coming back for it.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
He's probably still out there killing it.
Dude, Dylan Haywood, he super sick. Look him up on the gram, you'll be like, okay, wow, Alabama ripper.
Yeah, yeah, dude.
Yeah, so my biggest advice is patience. Skateboarding isn't going anywhere, and if the injury that you're dealing with is taking you off the board, I advise to look into something else that sparks your interest and not just focusing on this injury that's taking you out. Time does have to take place for injuries to heal. That's the biggest thing. There are certain things you can do to decrease healing time, but there's still always going to be that factor of we actually have to wait for the body to physically heal something, and everybody's different. So it's hard sometimes to even have a time frame for those kinds of injuries because people's sleep habits are different, people's eating habits are different. All these little factors play in. So my biggest advice is just to learn patience with it, learn what your body's actually communicating to you, use the pain as a communication tool, and know just because that you have pain, something's not completely screwed forever, and just because you don't have pain doesn't mean that there's nothing wrong. Use that pain as more of a communication tool to say, yes, I am ready to get back out into the field and start back skating, or oh no, that knee still feels like it could buckle at any second. Take heed of that and know that that's your body talking to you, and to not rush the process, because the streets ain't going nowhere, the skateboard's definitely not going anywhere. If anything, by the time you get back out here, there's probably going to be a new park built down the road. So keep that in mind and just give yourself some grace. Man, final words for everybody, especially the youth, man. Enjoy the youth, and really enjoy the youth. Don't get caught up in wanting to be grown up so fast. I know it's very tempting to see older people again to live their life and do whatever they want. Yes, there is a case of that, but there's so much that goes on with being in the youth and having fresh joints and fresh mindset and open mindset, and try not to let any of these negative things steer you away from enjoying that youth, because there is a lot of things out there that can make us feel grown up, and they're not always the best thing for us at that time. I do get experimenting and things like that, but just know that you're sometimes playing with fire, especially when it comes to drugs and alcohol. That stuff can be a slippery slope. So if you do wind up going into that experimental world, know that there's some people that don't make it out of it. I've unfortunately lost a lot of my childhood friends. Even this dude, the last guy I even ever got in a fist fight with, was probably 12 years ago. Recently passed away to a drug overdose. So that stuff is real, and I don't want any of these youth coming up to think that that stuff is all fun and games, because it can get ugly fast. So enjoy the youth, enjoy being able to skate with your friends, enjoy not having bills that you gotta worry about right now, and really prepare for that adulthood future. Start thinking now about what type of influence that you can be in the world, positively. What things can you learn and then pass on to other people? Because to me, that's what this is all about. Us learning stuff and passing it down. And I do think that the new generation has a really good head on its shoulders. There's a plethora of information that these kids are taking in all the time, and they're light years smarter than I was at that age. So just be sure not to throw that stuff away and just keep building up what you already got. It's good.